जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत शिष्यमणि शिवाय कृष्ण भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रज में वृंदावन धाम की जय नवदीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समावित भक्त वृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to Assembled God, all glories to Assembled God, all glories to Assembled God, glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Guru Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter number 10 and text number 11. This is about Lord Shri Krishna is revealing his prowess before his personality. A singular personality that he is known by his qualities. So, what are these qualities? That the personality will be understood. So Krishna is telling that to those who are constantly devoted in serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Right? One must cultivate faith and develop the process of bhakti. That is the only way to know him. If we are inimical, then process of bhakti will get never ensure. So therefore, Krishna is telling that those who are striving on this path without any enmity, without any interference of their so-called intelligence. That is not the intelligence. Krishna says, I give them sufficient intelligence. Yesham sapata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvatam dadami buddhi yogamam kim. To go to Krishna, one must require sufficient intelligence. Yesterday we also touched that we do not get intelligence in the material world. To get material education, that's not the way to get intelligence. And that is not called intelligence. How can you say your IQ simply based on information? Information quotient is also IQ, right? But intelligent portion is more important. And Krishna says, I give them sufficient intelligence. If they, try to understand me without any animosity, by performing favorable devotional service, Why it is devotion? Devotion has an underlying fact of love. Without devotion, nobody can even experience love, even in material world. If husband and wife are not devotionally inclined, how can they ever love each other? No. You can't make believe. There is no standard in the material world that can prove that material love is also devotional. No way. So, whatever our dilemmas are there, that are created by our own misunderstanding, not knowing the truth, means we are misled or misunderstanding has been created. So, Krishna says, those who are striving, I not only give them sufficient intelligence by which they will come to me, but I am becoming very compassionate for those who are striving. Krishna loves everybody, but without showing compassion, how can anybody understand the love? So today's verse is telling, Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atmabhavastho jnanadipena bhasvata Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavastho jnanadipena bhasvata Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavastho jnanadipena bhasvata
Tesham evanu kevampaltam aham agyanajam tamaha nasayamyatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata
Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata
Tesham yevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata
Tesham eva certainly anukampa artham to show special mercy aham I Ajnanajam, due to ignorance, Tamaha, darkness, Nashayami, dispel, Atma Bhava, within their hearts, Saha, situated, Jnana, of knowledge, Dipena, with the lamp, Bhasvata, glowing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy within with the shining light of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. When Lord Chaitanya was in Banaras promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
thousands of people were following him. Prakashanand Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar of Banaras at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive, sentimentalists. Actually, this is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take the advantage of their literature or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in the devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So, the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out the devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making mental effort. Men can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not the lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service is the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself into the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, and the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association, through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of the life. He needed not to be anxious. He need not to be anxious because he has removed, he removes the darkness from his heart. Everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurumilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisham Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Dharamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Shri Shakamitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranami Hare Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patinam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidhamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aham Adhyana Tamaha Nashayami Atma Bhavastu Jnanadipena Bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I am dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge and the darkness born of ignorance. If somebody takes this at verbatim, one can light a lamp within their heart. One can feel the heat. You can't see the light, you can't feel the heat. Then what kind of, the words, are they allegory? Or it indicates that light is there but enlightenment should be there. To get light means to get enlightened. One has to get out from the false conception and establish himself to be true conception, and he will be enlivened because he will see things fitting everywhere. Enlightenment doesn't come otherwise. Enlightenment is a realization. They are indicating the same, thing that we are coming out of darkness. Darkness means darkness of whom? Those who do not have faith in Atma Tattva, how come they will be even enlightened? Is there any subject matter taught in university to get us enlightenment? So, this is the subject matter where a practical proof of enlightenment is there. And then we call it Krishna's mercy. That one has to be enlightened. Why? Because he has his path chalked out and he will not fall back. Moreover, he can guide others. Otherwise, we are all called, we are born in the darkness of ignorance. Nobody came enlightened. Enlightenment comes after realization of the absolute truth, and not otherwise. When you know the truth about yourself, which is permanent and which is not going to deceive you, which is your permanent asset and you cannot go beyond it. So, that reality has to be the subject matter. And this subject matter, Krishna personally takes that. It is his realm, his residence. He always dwells. Because the soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, the Super Soul also sits along with the soul. But as long as we are acting on a karmic platform which is binding, which is creating only darkness of reality, temporarily. If we get, say, some raise in salary, we become enlightened. No. We think, oh, we'll be a little bit better in the shape. And somebody does not get. But he may have better chances to get enlightenment. The material world is made up of opposites. And you cannot take only one side. You have to take both. If you desire happiness, then you have to face unhappiness also. You can't have one or other. You should have both. Because we are born in the darkness of duality. Ichha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sargayanti parantara. Sammoha means the sum total of all illusion is falling or is created by these two factors. The separate desire that has arisen from the hate. So naturally, those devotees who are qualifying themselves not to get into any envious nature, not to befall as a victim or creating a situation that will be always of tense opposites. Then, for him it is difficult to get enlightened. So one has to constantly strive, knowing the science of the self, because you are there and you cannot be existing without the self. But if we are not self-realized, then we have problem. Analytically, you cannot dissect your Atma separately from your bodily conception. It has so much intertwined that we practically do not know where we got lost within the body. But our influence is throughout the body. If the influence is throughout the body, and even sometimes outside the body, this influence is indicative that somehow or other this energy called consciousness can also create an aura around our body, create an influence. Aura means influence. The personality is there, the locality is there, and the influence is there. But this is very temporary, or it is very limited. While Krishna's personality, the Supreme's personality, is singularly individual, but supreme individual. And his locality is all pervading. And the third one is influences also reaching to each and every one, but yet in the matter of dead body surrounding, unless it is properly enlightened, the pathway through the body means the gross material body as well as subtle body, one has to travel. The yoga practice was able to do that, Ashtanga yoga, that will create a discipline to travel from gross body to the subtle body, and then one can. But in this age of Kali, which is a short-lived, and with all the ignorance increasing around, if we are advancing education, doesn't mean that we have come to a very conclusive aspect of our life. Rather, it is more confusing. So if we employ all that is education, so-called education, but it does not help us to enlighten and bring us out from the darkness of ignorance, then what is the use? We are still in the dark. Universities are created to enlighten. No, that is not the purpose. It becomes an industry, manufacturing money. That is not enlightenment. Even philosophical subject matter, without the practice of it, it is never come to the point of enlightenment. Do you think all the philosophers in the world are enlightened? Or they are speculators? Yeah. When Srila Prabhupada in 1974 was meeting with great Indologists of the time from Harvard, from University of California in Berkeley, from the Penn State College, University of Lancaster in Pennsylvania. And then so many people were thought-provoking, and because they were directly challenged with the enlightened nature of Srila Prabhupada. They were challenged. And Prabhupada would go in this kind of conversation with them. It is also in one of, I think, Acharya Six number 3, if you see, Prabhupada clarifies that these are all Indologists, but they are still philosophists. Or theosophists. Theos means theory, means of something of religious nature or related to God, but they don't know God. to philosophizing God, there is no philosophy required. Are we told to study the Vedas as philosophy to search out God? No. Vedesu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktu govindam adi purushottam. The one which is extremely difficult to be found out in the Vedas, studies of Vedas. But those who are atma bhaktas, means those who are realized, then they can find it. So this is completely a different type of paradigm that we have to employ. We can't rely upon anybody, you know. Even in the religious subject matter, I had a disciple, she wanted to do PhD, and she wanted the subject matter of Gaudiya Vaishnava. You know, and she had a hard time to get a subject. Because the professors are not at all understanding the theology, even though they are, you know, expert in, you know, stipulating the codes of advancement in knowledge. They were baffled. They say we can give you subject matter to study and do your PhD in development of Bollywood rather than understand the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Is Bollywood subject matter of philosophy? But they are entering into that kind of demand. We can easily give you, you can become student, pay this much money and research on better Bollywood. But yes, she was confronted. And I said, Mala, what is this? I said, that is the world of education today. That the studies will Prabhupada's books. Really, this is a fact. So, Bhaktivedanta Research Institute in Calcutta is a very laudable effort because we have accumulated so much wealth of Gaudiya literatures that you can search and enliven yourself. The study of so many saintly people, you know, how do they achieve the enlightenment? But you do not need the external education to get enlightened. But those who are striving in devotional service, Krishna says, I become quite much disposed to them. And to them I promote them by helping them. How? Tesham evankampat, anukampa. It's a causeless mercy. Causeless mercy. There is no cause behind it. But Krishna says this is my realm. And those who are trying to achieve in my realm, naturally I will become favorably disposed to them. Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam. Whatever he was bereft of the knowledge, I will eradicate by jnanadipena bhasma. I will light the lamp within their heart of the reality exposed. In analytical study of Sankhya Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, you discern not this, neti, and you'll spend the whole lifetime. But unless and until you have accepted a process that is eti, then you will have so much chances. Srila Prabhupada brought eti, not neti. Mayavadis philosophers will say neti. They don't want to come to the conclusion. They are bent dead against because of enviousness. And they don't get any chance to become self-realized. They may pose with so many grammatical jugglery that they will be doing. But Adi Shankara, their leader, said, Samprapte sannihite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukram karane. Dukram means the analytical study, grammatical study will not help you. Rascal. Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda. Just, why Bhaja Govinda? So, if Adi Shankara has to do particular service to Lord Shri Krishna, he did it. And we love him. But we don't live, we don't live according to the so-called the grammatical aspect of their erudite scholarships. They have a tradition. Adi Shankara wrote 12 verses on this Bhaja Govinda, this Father Panchatika Stotra. Now, you know how many verses? Every Shankaracharya that follows, they must add one or two. And today it is a compilation of several books. It has become this big volume. They think, we are Shankaracharya, we should know all this. How to compile in a sarcastic way expose in the Dvadas Panchatika Stotra. Dvadas means 12 verses. They are original. So they want to nullify. They want to go out of the purview of diversification. And here it is said, Prabhupada says, they will never. So the idea is that unless and until the personality aspect is understood, and that can be only understood by rendering favorable devotional service. So those who are constantly striving and performing favorable devotional service, Krishna says, out of compassion, because I am sitting in their heart as Paramatma, I enlighten them. Source of enlightenment is Krishna. Not dry philosophical speculations of Shankaracharyas. Bhaja Govindam was the ultimate conclusion, but there is no bhakti in them. Gadadhar Pandit joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he came back from South India trip, and he said, I'm sorry, I could not find a single pure devotee in South India. Many were Sakam Bhaktas and things like that. But pure devotee, and the conclusion of pure devotee was, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the one who is engaged in confidential service of Lord Krishna, like gopis. Everybody was falling short. And all of a sudden, Gadadhar Pandit, who was the Swami sannyasi in Shankaracharya Sampradaya, he came and joined. And he started writing the diaries of activity, and he was able to understand. Even though he is coming from a Mayavadi Sampradaya, Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai. They were the only two people who were understanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feeling of separation. Because he was Radha Krishna Nari. So, Swarup Damodar, he was a Mayavadi sannyasi. But yet, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was attracted towards the enlightenment. And he was accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as one of the most confidential people. What we read about Chaitanya Charitamrita was written on the basis of the diary of Swami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes that by the mercy of my spiritual master Raghunath Das Goswami, and I have tried to narrate all of these intricate situations of the highest devotional service of enlightenment through Swarupa's life. So, this is unless and until we perform devotional service, we will not be able to attract the attention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, to understand Brahmeti, Paramatmiti is Bhagavanti Shabdate. It is already given. So one can choose their path. Now Prabhupada said, the other two are not going to give you full enlightenment. But one aspect is the only aspect that requires rendering pure devotional service to attract him, to interact with him, and you will be completely enlightened. So, it is not a subject matter that, oh, I will try on my own, I don't need anybody's help. Always associate with the devotees of the Lord. Prabhupada brought. It's a very humble and very inclusive process, not exclusive process. That it is available only to those who are highly educated in this. No. Krishna says, I help them. Those who are striving seriously, I help them. Sitting in their heart, I expose them, I enlighten them. If Krishna can enliven you, or initially we were all dead spark. Alright? But the dead spark was enlightened by the consciousness given by Paramatma. So we woke up into it. But we woke up in ignorance. What does it mean? Yeah, we are keeping our eyes all around, but all around is nothing but temporary manifestation of ignorance. Maya is like shadow of Krishna. Jahan Krishna tahi nahi maya radhika. So we are not enlightened, even we have eyes. Eyes were given to see the reality. To hear the reality, ears were given. To speak the reality, tongue was given. And to taste Krishna Prasadam. Don't go and eat pizza outside. Make your pizza, offer it to Krishna, and then take. That will have an impact on your life. But this is what it says. The darkness is, created by ignorance of the reality. All this is manifested, but we fail to see this is Krishna's opulences. We fail to see. And therefore Krishna explains in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita about the opulences that are manifested. When you taste water, can you remember Krishna? Try. Because in what aspect Krishna says that you can remember me while drinking water? Your body is made up of 80% of water. And even while drinking, we cannot think of Krishna. Rasoham apsukhonte. Apa means water. I'm the taste in the water. You can't replace with Coca-Cola. So, Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasasi shuryo. Everything is meant to keep our eyes open to find out who are they and why they have been created. They are part of creation. Your body is part of creation. But we can't worship creation, we have to worship the Creator. So, this is a very important point. So, those who are striving in Bhakti Yoga, wherever they may be with a poor fund of knowledge, but they are striving to continue Bhakti Yoga, Krishna says, I become compassionate on them to give them sufficient intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Desham evanupam aham adhyanaja. Buddhi yogam means the reality from temporality. Reality must be understood. If we fail to understand reality about our own self, we are as good as dead people and useless lives. Parabhavasya abodha jato javanna jikyasam atmatattva. Parabhav means dead failure. If we fail to understand our atmatattva, tattva means the truth about ourselves, that we are part and parcel of Krishna and nobody else. If we fail to understand and realize within this lifetime, and the whole life is a failure, parabhava is defeated. Abodha jata means uneducated. Atma tattva, the truth about Atma, Brahma. The Javat Kriya, Tavat Manobi. Whatever we act, our mind will be also saturated within that in ignorance. The karmatmakam eva sharir bandhana. Our activities are becoming our own bondage. We will not be able to liberate ourselves. So, this is very important, that why devotional service is so much important. Not jnana. The impersonalist Mayavadis, they still harboring enviousness. They don't want to render devotional service. They think they themselves are God. Let others render us devotional service. So, reality is far away from the temporality. And temporary is always going to get smashed. You can't win over temporary life. You can win over it. In temporary life, whether it's a bodily conception or material education, everything is going to be defeated. But Atma Tattva cannot be defeated. So keep it alive, keep it enlightened, and always think that you belong to Krishna. You are a part and parcel of it. How could you live separately from it? Live according to His plan, the way He intended, and He will help us. He does not leave us alone. You struggle. Now, the association of devotees gives so much, strength in pursuing devotional service. So, thank you very much. Anybody has any question? Yes, Martin. How come you increase your hair? The hair is for Muchi and Maya.
Oh.
I was indicating then that you thought bead bag is not there, so he brought the bead bag and hang it.
Should I answer that first?
You think it will look beautiful?
My mama asked me to grow it
Your
out.
mama! Your mama's boy anyway, okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. I'm wondering about material information, just accumulating information. Does that help? Does that hurt? Does that have any effect?
Hurts.
It hurts.
Yes.
Okay.
More you know, worse the condition. Then it will be like a genie. It will never allow you to rest for a while. You have to be more activated and after the information, rather than information will drag you.
So does that have a place in our pursuit for spirituality?
It doesn't have anything,
Anything?
no relations. No relations. Does have ignorance any relationship with enlightenment? Yeah. This is all ignorant quotient. I told you before. Information quotient, ignorance quotient is also IQ. Where is the intelligent quotient? Krishna is giving you intelligent quotient. I give you sufficient intelligence by which you can come to me. That is intelligent quotient. So, people were giving up the material life and accepted seclusion to meditate on Krishna. But we are not giving up, but we are engaging everything in Krishna's service. So what is that? According to our time, this is the best application. Don't try to employ the defunct processes because this age is not compatible for it. Easy. Chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
and deliberate. Go back to God. That is the way to heaven. Chant and be happy. What a concise sutra. That's like Vedanta Sutra. You can expand it.
Maharaj, I think, he also was asking about, this knowledge that you go to school to get a job. And then with the job you get the money and with the money you give it to Krishna.
It will interfere.
So you don't go to school, no job.
There is no need. There will be time coming when there will be no universities. There will be time coming. History repeats itself. You better believe.
But for now we need to survive, so we have to.
And Baba, that is not a survival. Anybody can survive. Animals do go to university. But men like animals go to university.
No, the kids have to go to school on Saturdays too these days. Saturdays.
See, the idea is that, and especially Srila Prabhupada, when he started Gurukul, the kids should know mathematics. They should know the reading and writing, English. That's all right. I don't think he gave any other instruction. And for the girls, no Gurukul. Your Gurukul is at home. Your mother will teach you everything. How to speak, how to behave, everything. Isn't it? But when you go to school and learn, then you start also arguing. the way your mother was educated properly, it will be a different thing altogether. It will create a conflict between mother and daughter, this education. No harmony. What do you say? We are not against education. We are against the subject of education. What that we have originally forgot, that we have to bring it again to remind us. That is the job of education. We have forgotten our originality. We have forgotten our reality. Therefore, the education must be geared to achieve our reality. Is the subject matter of biochemistry wanted to give you originality? No. I was a biochemist, I gave up. But once I woke up, then I gave up. So it is not that when we are anti all these things. Prabhupada said, where is the department of self-realization? Why it is not requiring education? That is the main purpose. If that department is, then all other subject matters are completely invalid. For business, you have to avoid self-realization. Let you be zombies and like animals, educated animals, Homo sapiens.
I see your first question. So how to, it's more for me, like my own personal
Yes.
experiences, how do I become more inward facing rather than external facing, right? Because I look at external things for everything, for validations or even, that's the default conditioning that we have received. So how do I become more antarmukh rather than, bahirmukh, looking at the external world?
That is, internal development is coming through the chanting of the holy name, which cleanses the dust accumulated of ignorance on the mirror of our heart. Chetodarpanam. The holy name will clear the dust, which will allow you to see yourself very clearly. Otherwise, we are not able to see ourselves. That much dust has been accumulated. So, Chetodarpanam and Bhavamahatavagni Nirvana. It will eradicate you from, or save you from the forest fire of repeated birth and death. Treya Kairava Chandrika Vikaranam. Chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is spreading like soothing moonlight. Sunlight is scorching. Moonlight is not scorching, it is soothing, completely reversible. So, Vidya Vadu Jiva. Vidya means the one that liberates us. That should be the purpose of our education. Any education is liberating you from university, or they are putting more into sucking into the Maya. I'm not against the education, but I'm giving you the enlightenment of realization. I give up. There is a certain period and time coming, you won't be able to tolerate that. Otherwise, I was Masters of Science in Biochemistry, and I have done research in transcellular transport and whatnot. Written a research paper and what. I gave up. I gave up gradually, not all of a sudden. But it was time. And in America itself, I saw the hypocrisy. Is there any real beneficiary in that science has ever brought out for mankind? A real beneficiary. It has created an industry to make profitable, but none of the product will ever last. Hardly 10 years. You find any invention, whether it's a car or an aeroplane or whatever, it has a very limited lifespan because matter changes.
But the cars, they stay and they last. Some of the old cars. Some of the old cars, they last for a long time.
No.
Yeah. Like Honda Civics.
How many years?
For more than 20 years. it
No, then
seems.
they started newer models to replace it. There is a law now that car cannot be on the road if it is 15-year-old.
But
No, but
there's, well, what I'm trying to say, why should we just completely just sit still and
say, we are not against, but comparability, that it became an industry rather than, I mean, did it increase your lifespan? Does the medicine increase your lifespan?
no.
Then, what is the real benefit?
To find a voice.
Eh?
To find a voice.
Voice.
Yes.
For what?
To find Krishna. To find Krishna in society.
No, that is, you had a voice given by Krishna before also.
But
They have not
Krishna's voice is
improvised
there,
you.
so why shouldn't we
No,
find
we can
Krishna's
spread.
voice together?
No, we can spread.
But we can't just sit here
Yeah,
like
but-
statues. We should do it
No,
together.
our lookout is that material life and spiritual life, they are going loggerheads against each other.
But because of us, because we keep moving away from it.
No, that is, why do you move away if you are leaning towards the material life more, then you will move away.
Because
Krishna
we
wants
don't
you
know
to
how to-
come out. No, Krishna wants you to come out. Utilize the material life because it is his creation, not your creation.
But he's created me, right?
He created your body.
So we should
Your
find
soul
Krishna
was never
together.
created. It is part and parcel of him eternally.
So we should find Krishna
It
in
is-
everyone.
So your obligation is not based on your temporary body.
But I'm devoted to it.
You
What if our
have
bodies are
to
devoted
see,
to
you
it?
have to realize rather than voice out.
What
Realization
if I
is more.
spend too much time realizing? I can't just sit to realize.
I think we are talking in two different terms. You know, realization is not what you call, just like a little fruit to pick up unripened. We have to be mature. Realizing means the realistic nature. We have to act on the functionality of the soul. That is totally dedicated to Krishna. Not functionality of the body. You can engage favorable services to the body to serve Krishna. But you cannot have a separate enjoyment or going away from Krishna. You cannot have both.
Then what's the purpose of the Krishna movement? What's the purpose of the Krishna movement?
The purpose is to enlighten you.
To do what?
Yes, enlighten means doesn't come just like a little flashlight. Essence forever. Then you will say yes to Krishna, whatever he says in Bhagavad Gita, and you want object.
Quick just to build up on that, because this is so interesting, and thank you so much for sharing this. In my office, or in office life, right, there are so many stressful situations that happen. And I've come to realize that sometimes our behavior is not in tandem with what I'm learning, right? Like, for example, I keep asking myself this question: was I okay in behaving this way? Does it suit?
Transfer that exactly whether Krishna was pleased by your behavior. Whether Krishna is pleased. How do you know Krishna is pleased? Your Guru is pleased. How do you know your Guru is pleased? The devotees are pleased. This is the axiomatic truth that we have to learn. Ultimate end. Mam upetyato kaunteya dukkhalaya ashashvatam apnuvarti mahana samsiddhi parama. Our best achievement is to achieve Krishna, by which you will never come for repeated birth and death, which is miserable. You are coming out from the miseries. But unless and until you achieve Krishna, you will not be able to. So we always say that what Krishna is teaching is very thought-provoking, but we have to also have the process of thought-provoking in accordance with Krishna. Very fine. Not in accordance with our individuality.
Like purpose of the
Are you
soul?
independent or dependent?
Independent.
Eh?
Independent.
Independent?
Yes.
No. You are
In a way.
engaged in the body, which is not you.
I mean, I have to.
No,
I have responsibilities. and I
No
have to-
responsibility. You have only one responsibility, is going back home at the body.
But how do we do that?
That's the point. You do according to the plan of Lord Krishna.
What's the plan?
The plan is Bhagavad Gita.
What's the plan of Bhagavad Gita?
He is saying, making instrument to Arjuna and
Come, lovely, come every Sunday.
Yeah, every Sunday we
can't-
are able to like study.
you can't
the
get one day.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, but you have to implement. Huh? If you don't know, then what is the use? Read Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, okay.
Have you completed Bhagavad Gita reading?
No, it was
Then-
hard for me to
Then you
read.
do it, study well, and you will be a respondent.
Let's take one more last question for the Aarti. Almost time.
I guess my question was, is calling, I guess, like material sciences and material education completely, like, is useless a good word for it? Because like through engineering, we were able to get the printing press, which was very important in progressing Sri Prabhupada's movement, or even like the boat that Sri Prabhupada used to get to America, and
Yes.
just like the different facilities used to propagate preaching. What-
He was also BSc. He was a scientist too. And he opened up medicine manufacturing company himself. But he gave up. The real medicine is this, Krishna consciousness. To get rid of the repeated birth and death. To establish yourself into the reality that you are part and parcel of the Supreme Whole, and you have to be subservient to it. So, we are not against the material nature. We have been put according to our karma. That was his system. But at the same time, he is telling, now get out. If you are a gentleman, you have to get out for once and all, and never to come back. Because this is not your original home. You have been changing the home. Birth after birth, you have been given so many bodies. Even 14 times you will be changing this body in the life of 98 years. The science is telling. So who are you? Keep on changing the bodies. Tatha dehantar praptir virastatra namudhyate. If you are sober, you will understand that even after death, you will accept another body and you will not be, bewildered again. So, we have to establish that by not only understanding, but realizing the self. Now, who is the true self of you? Your brain? No. The brain is functioning because you are there. If you are coming out of the body, whatever the reason may be, but then you will not be your body. Then who will be? Mind, intelligence, ego. The subtle body there. You have to free from that. Krishna says, Mam upetyetu kampetu khalaya mashashvatam bhavanti mahatmana samsriti paramamita. The best achievement of human form of life is to never come again in the bodily conception of life. You have your own sweet body, like Krishna's body. If you are part and parcel of beautiful Krishna, then you must be beautiful. Instead of digging out that, we are trying to play around the mud of Maya. It will make us dirty. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.